this fucking temp off. Hey, we're live, man. I was just going to say, am I ever going to get out of this temporary office? My electrical should be pulled this week. Hey, everybody. Episode 71, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. One of us is hungover, and I'll give you a hint. It's the amateur on the show. I don't think so.
Oh, man.
It wasn't even from my homebrew this time.
No. Well, man, I'm just tired. Listen, man. Have you noticed? Listen, I got to say something. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but hangovers made me think of it. So, I've been playing World of Warcraft for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you've played it off and on. I don't know if you guys play it still right now, but right now there is what's called the Mage Tower Artifact Challenge. So it's a solo scenario that you play per your talent specification. So like tank, healer, DPS, right? And dude, they are inordinately difficult. And for whatever reason, man, I can't get the job done. I've tried on 3 different types of characters.
None of them.
And so I'm struggling. I'm struggling being 42 with a family, with an advanced career that I want to advance more, with the realization that I just can't do this anymore. Not like I don't want to, like I just can't do it. It's too much for me. I don't know that I'm willing to invest the time necessary to master what needs to be mastered to actually defeat that. And it's like crushing me. It's like a soul crushing thing, man.
Yeah, because we never thought we would get to that point. It's funny because I on again, off again play WoW, play Star Wars, the Old Republic. It's a huge time investment for that, and it's fun. I love it, but if I need to relax, I'll still go put on Slow Tour, get on my Sith, and go slaughter a bunch of sand people on Tatooine, just because there's a reason why Anakin Solo did it. It's fun. But I can always just go like on my Xbox, I just download Madden because it doesn't matter. I just go play that and go break some kids' hearts when I play online because they're all thinking they got stick skills, and that the game hasn't changed. The only thing in that game has changed is the graphics. It's been the same thing for the last 10 years. I still enjoy it, making kids cry. Actually, it doesn't matter which game I play. I just, because it's fun. Yeah. But I can't do it. If I go to do that on, an MMO game, it's the character development. And, maybe because I might have more time, but dude, I'm starting my MBA. It's just not as enjoyable.
No, it's not.
Figure out how to make this bar that I'm building out of wood. Still honing my beer making craft. I'm gonna try and make wine. I'm not yet quite ready to turn water into wine, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, well said, man. The time part, and I think that's simply it. There's just too many other interesting, actually fulfilling things. It's almost like those dopamine pathways are burned out for me. Like I log into the game and I'm like, I don't even know why I logged in.
Well, also, how are we going to become real preppers now?
Yeah,
because in the event that we have to use those skills, the computer's not going to work anyway.
I gotta say, man, I started looking at AR-15s.
Dude, I'll show you. I'll send you the link for the one that I'm getting. It's cheap. They're highly rated, and you build it yourself.
Right. Is yours classified as a pistol?
No, you can get ones that do that
based on the length of the barrel, right?
That and the caliber. So it depends on whether it's got that fixed arm on you or not.
Yeah.
The caliber as well. There's a couple other things depending on the state, but the place is called, I want to say it's like Palmetto State Armory.
Okay, yeah, I looked at that.
Dude, you can get an AR shooting 5.56 or 223 for like under $500.
Yeah, I saw
rated
that.
High, and I'm like, and you could custom the trigger and everything you wanted if So Ian has said the only thing that matters really is just buy a good scope, and as long as that AR you can always upgrade your AR, but you're going to spend more money on the scope than anything.
Yeah, the optics and whatnot. Sure. Well, you know, my point in mentioning that is, so then I've been watching videos, right? And I think you've mentioned this before. Man, going and doing like a shooting competition seems way more enticing to me at this point than trying to do this damn Mage Tower challenge.
Dude, watch Keanu Reeves 3 Gun.
Yes, yes.
That is how he trained for John Wick. So I was wondering, why did it look so good? Because he's been training in 3 Gun for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Shotgun reload is sick. Oh, it is. I don't know that I'm not that good. But again, that dude's got millions of dollars in the bank, and he can spend, months training. I ain't got that kind of time.
It just seems attractive. It's interesting because it's almost a cycle back to where I was almost as a kid, right? As a kid, I really liked target shooting.
Yeah,
like with a 22. Man, I would love to go out into the woods and just shoot bottles or shoot targets. I loved it. I did it all the time. And then, life moved on and things evolved, but I'm kind of back to that point. I don't know, maybe it's being in this area because we've been going for hikes almost every day. I got one of those, I think I said this on Thursday, one of those child carrier backpacks. Man, that's the best, dude. That's the best. I got an Osprey, good brand. Fuck, man, that makes a big difference, dude. Well, I mean, because look, man, I'm walking like 3 or 4 miles. You end up carrying a 3-year-old, and she ain't light anymore. I mean, 35 pounds over a couple miles really adds up.
Yeah, hell yeah, it does.
You stick her in this backpack, man, and it has like a little fold-up sun shield. You know what I mean? Oh, it's the best.
Is she facing forward or backwards?
Forwards.
Okay.
Forwards, so you can still communicate. We pass things back and forth. Like she likes taking. We got her a little camera,
right?
And she likes taking video, photos of stuff. Man, I told dude, I thought it was an eagle.
So she kind of looks like Yoda on your back, and you're Luke. And
yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it. Or like the little midget in Thunderdome, Master Blaster.
I think they refer to be called little people now. You have to be at least somewhat politically correct.
Oh, I thought that was like his name in the movie.
Oh. I have no idea.
Unnecessarily aggressive midget.
And you're in academia. You're not supposed to act like this in academia.
Oh, man. Oh, speaking of academia, man, changing topics. The first thing I actually wanted to talk about, like I said, happy 1st of July, everybody. It's Leibniz's birthday, who's the father of computer science and binary and so forth and so on, gave us all kinds of interesting insights into mathematics. But, there's this whole upheaval around publishing and open science. And in the EU, Elsevier, who is a fairly big publisher, but not necessarily a friend to open science in the sense that they charge for everything, man. And I've reviewed for their journals, and it ain't fun. I stopped doing it. They were made like essentially the gatekeeper for open science in the EU. Now, how do you take a for-profit publisher and put them in charge of essentially non-profit publishing? There's something really twisted there, man, and it's actually like a big thing that's kind of broiling up.
I don't really know, because it's kind of like the same thing. I'm mixed over like Microsoft buying GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
I know why Microsoft wants to do it, but in this particular case, science is supposed to be like a library. Anyone should be able to go there, check out the book, even stay inside the library, never leave, do whatever they need to do. I mean, that's kind of why what Google's ambition of publishing everything ever written, I think, is just is great. Even new research. How can we continue to promote the species, get further, if we don't have open collaboration? And this is interesting. So when I used to do work at the Department of Energy, because so I was maybe 30 at the time, and I'm still hardcore. Everything is a vulnerability. That hackers out there in the world, everyone's going to get it. We can't do this. So, I mean, the Department of Energy, for those that don't know, they have what's called the NNSA, the National Nuclear Security Agency. Now, these cats, they shoot on sight. You come close to their charge with protecting our nuclear facilities. You come close, they just shoot because there's plenty of signs. They don't take chances, right? So you have that side. But then I was wondering, why is our science network here completely open? So I'm talking to the head of science, and I'm like, you've got this problem, this problem, this problem. He's like, look, if you come from a .edu or you're a research institute, science should be open. How the United States chooses to apply that science is what becomes classified. I'm like, so wait a minute. So it's okay if North Korea figures out we're basically giving them the ingredients to make a nuclear bomb, but as long as we don't tell them how to do it, that's okay. He's like, that's kind of extreme, but yes, science is universal and should be open to everyone. How we choose to apply it is what's classified. And that kind of stuck with me. The older I get, the more mature I become in my thinking, not necessarily my age, but I tend to start leaning more towards that.
Yeah. Well, openness of information.
Yeah. And before I felt it was, in order to be secure, you had to hold everything. And the further I get along on my path, I think I become more secure by the more open I am about what I've achieved in terms of my knowledge, things like that, to pass it on.
Sure. I agree with that, man. And that's kind of the part of the underlying rationale for my argument for ending privacy. It's kind of this, roughly speaking, the same idea that you actually have more to gain.
Rational.
What's that?
Yours is crazy. Mine is rational.
Well, maybe, man. Maybe. But nonetheless, it's still the foundation for it is the concept. Well, we certainly have more to gain from being open and ensuring access to that openness,
right?
Uniformly. But anyway, man, yeah. So that's an interesting thing because there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure to produce science in some ways, but in the same way, even at Cal Poly, for instance, there's an expectation that you're going to do research, but it's not the only thing you're being judged on, right? It's like 2 papers in the last 5 years or something like that if you're going to be hired, right? Well, because part of the problem is I mean, there's like on the order of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of journal articles published every day. It's impossible to read all of it. It's impossible. And there's no way to really filter it or curate it. Not yet, anyway.
It becomes paid. How is some student going to gain access to it?
Well, and that's the problem. And that's why I've been dipping into not necessarily just open access, but open science, right? Even using preprints to publish instead of traditional mechanisms. Because first of all, it's kind of a skewed slave labor. So, I mean, all these people as academics are producing the research and they get zero financial benefit from it. Zero. I mean, you're not being paid for those words. Whereas these publishers are locking them up behind paywalls and charging, if not 40, 50, 60 bucks per article, thousands for a subscription.
Hey, that's cheap compared to a Gartner article.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you can also see that's what's happening to the science itself.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of publishing of let's say, failure. Certainly what gets published not only has to fit the journal and its theme, but it goes through some type of selection process that isn't free from human bias.
That's interesting, right? The failure part. We'll go back to that. Imagine today, Thomas Edison would never have published any of those things that had happened because, it was still science.
Mm-hmm. Sure it is. Well, there's also not a lot of replication that gets done because it's just not incentivized.
Yeah.
So people don't do it because it doesn't get published. And right, if you have to spend time publishing, you're obviously going to spend time on something that you think will be published, not things that are actually necessarily material to the furthering of science. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing, man. I'm starting to lean more towards, in my view of open science, is more of like a crowd-funded approach where, look, man, just put it out there and let everybody read it and comment on it. It's kind of the idea.
Yeah. I get mixed because I kind of go, I don't want people making profit off of my hard work. I mean, they're going to, but I should at least be paid fairly for it then. Not like to that extent. I would rather just give it away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because look, if you publish like in an Elsevier open access journal so that other people to read it don't have to pay, you have to pay as the author, and it's like a $3,000 upfront charge. $3,000 to publish an article.
Hey, you know what you could do? You could just start posting all your stuff to Medium.
Yeah, wow. I mean, people consider it publishing. And you know what? Actually, as much as I might shit on Medium as a platform, because first of all, I think the UI is fucking horrible. I can't stand reading shit on it. It's worse than Tumblr. And that's saying something, because Tumblr's a piece of shit. There is something to the idea of just put it out there and let people comment on it. I mean, okay, sure.
Yeah, the only problem is that people actually consider that still, they believe that to be research. It would be great if there was something like Medium that we could use to where there's still a peer review aspect to it.
Yeah, well, I think maybe perhaps the nature of peer review and how it's perceived might need to change.
Yeah.
Peer review, I think this is an easy way to think about changing it. Rather than it being prior to publishing, it might have to come after the fact. And you just have to accept as the author that I'm going to put this out there and there may be significant mistakes in it that I'm not aware of. So, all right, I'm going to adjust it after I put it out there. And that's the whole idea of a preprint server like Archive. I'm
kind of fine with that. I don't have a problem being wrong.
No. Well, I mean, that science is inherently falsifiable. It's a guiding principle.
I'd rather people see my journey to the correct answer rather than just publishing something that's perfect. I don't think people are going to learn as much rather than learning through the journey that was taken. Oh, wow, look, this cat made this mistake. And he's like, and there was no ego about it. He realized it or she realized it and moved forward. I think people will learn more from the journey than the result.
Yeah, well, and I think that's actually the real science part of it. Science being a mechanistic process for discovering truth or generating, knowledge. I'll tell you, man, I did a paper with a student this year and we put it on Archive preprint, and I've gotten not only more citations off that than anything else, but I've gotten more I guess I'll call it commentary, like people reading it and emailing me and asking me questions or giving me their view on things and shit like that. Dude, I mean, I had a paper that won an award, best paper at a conference, and it's never been cited. I don't know who's ever read it. I mean, compared to something I put out there for free, it's a free service. You don't pay for it. Nobody else pays to access it. And that's had way more success. So, career-wise, I'm not incentivized to do that because I don't know that it's technically peer-reviewed in that sense, right? It's scholarly, it's science. But man, if you're looking for impact to culture and impact to society, why wouldn't I continue to do that? My plan is to continue to do it.
This might be good because we have talked about this one. We don't have a whole lot of time, but we start talking about your best, your paper that's won the best award and no one has cited it once. I guess that's probably a pretty good segue into the UFC.
Yeah, because that paper is just about as relevant as the UFC at this point.
Right. I mean, we used to talk about it almost every show in some way, shape, or form. I guess they're still considered the #1 fight promotion in mixed martial arts.
I don't know, man. I mean, Bellator gets a lot of coverage now, and they're starting to pick up a lot of big fighters.
Yeah. I mean, to me, and we were talking about this pre-show a little bit. Dude, whether some people like Ronda Rousey, some people didn't. I like kind of her story. I mean, I read her autobiography. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't surprise me that she's over at the WWE. I think she burned out. I think she had bad advice, as a mixed martial artist. In some ways, maybe she was kind of like Tito Ortiz, where back in the day, I mean, this dude was just a beast, but then other fighters, caught up. Same thing, I think, with Ronda Rousey in that case. When she first came on the scene, there was not a lot of mixed martial artists that were women that were of that caliber. Then all of a sudden you started seeing a lot more people that came from kickboxing and of that nature. And, she couldn't keep going. Bad advice. Conor McGregor, he's not, is he fighting? Is he not fighting? I don't know. I would watch his fights. If the Diaz brothers were fighting, I would probably watch. There is no one on the current roster that has been scheduled to fight that excites me in any way. I'd rather go watch Chael Sonnen and Fedor, who are both over the hill, fight, because I at least think that might be entertaining. And the funniest part is Chael Sonnen can't talk shit to him because Fedor doesn't even understand it.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. Well, so I was thinking about the relevancy of the UFC, and man, I don't know if they just put on too much or they just don't have any big stars, which I don't know why they haven't promoted people certain ways. I'm not an insider. I have no knowledge of what's going on the inside, but yeah, there's nothing to look forward to. That's the way I look at it. Like, I don't know if today's Sunday. I don't know if there was a UFC last night. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you when the next one is and who's on it because I just don't care.
There's no one there to me. It's just, it doesn't move the needle.
No. It's not entertaining.
Yeah. Not even close anymore. Just nothing.
No.
And you've got people that that attempt to talk trash and they're horrible at it.
Yeah, they suck, man. They need to get some coaching or practice in front of a mirror. Or I don't know what, but
hey, I'm available. You need help? Any of you people on the UFC roster, you need help learning how to talk shit properly? I'm available.
Yeah, I would say you're a professional at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're hurting as a business. You know what I mean? It's not like the company's going under or they're falling apart. They just seem to be in this weird stage where they have a lot of cancellations. Weight cutting's a big problem. Obviously, USADA is a big problem for them popping people. And I don't know if they have figured out how to navigate this new climate. Dude, why am I paying for a pay-per-view? Why can't their subscription service is horrible. The UFC Fight Pass or whatever it is. Now, I think it's nice for access to the back catalog, but why do I want to pay to watch fights that I've already seen? There's a few things that over time maybe I would rewatch because they were exciting moments, but what is their product, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't even know what they're really selling anymore because it's not entertaining. Not
even close. I think it jumped the shark a while ago.
Yeah. It's almost reached. It's almost past its saturation point, I think. And I think a lot of that, we talked about this a long time ago. I think part of that is because they put on too many fights. There's too many cards.
I agree. Not just that, the aspect of the amount of fighters that pull out. This is like Conor's just hilarious with some of this stuff. Like the last fight, he's like, this dude pulls out of fights more time than I've pulled out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was pretty damn funny and pretty real. And I'm like, that's just because these guys just pull out constantly.
Yeah.
And so if it was me in the UFC, I'm like, hey, you missed weight, you pulled out of the fight, whatever. Guess what? Your next fight, because you're under contract, you're doing it for free.
Yeah, well, it seems like maybe they tried to do. Remember when HBO or even before HBO, they had like Friday Night Boxing, and it'd be a bunch of no-name undercards, and once in a while you would have like a big Mike Tyson pay-per-view. You know what I mean? And I think maybe that's what the UFC was trying to do over time. Like they had the Ultimate Fighter show. They bought WEC and these smaller regional kind of card shows. But it's just like they never really developed it. It all became about these big pay-per-views. And yeah, they have like UFC Friday Night Fights or what the fuck ever it's called. But they put big name people on there too. So there's no way to like get invested in somebody early in their career and watch them grow. They
They
just
diluted the brand.
yes. Well said, exactly. And so you get these people that just show up that I have no idea who the hell they are, and they're pretending like they're a top 10 person and they're not. And this is it, man. It just doesn't, it ain't working. It ain't working. It's too forced. And I think that's why people criticize it for being too WWE like. Well, it's not because it's worked. It's not fixed. It's just forced. It's ham-fisted, I guess is a good way to say it.
WWE is not fixed. It's scripted. There's a big difference.
Well, right. Compared to like Pride, which did fix fights.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, just like no different than professional boxing.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. So I don't know, man. I thought it was interesting to bring up because we talked about it a lot for a long time. And now it's like, dude, until Conor fights Khabib or some other big show happens, I'm not interested.
So speaking of Conor versus Khabib, because I think that happens this year. Conor McGregor's, I think, doing the right thing. He will get a plea deal. He will probably do a lot of community service, which I don't think he would have a problem with regardless. His emotions got the better of him, whatever you want to say. But I think he's never been in trouble before with anything. He'll get a slap on the wrist. He fights Khabib, and I think he destroys Khabib. We have found that Khabib does not have good takedown. And his stand-up is horrible. I think Conor lights him up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's certainly the higher probability.
Because dude could not beat someone and put him away that had like 2 days notice. Who's not a top 10 guy.
Right. Right.
I mean, the UFC had to basically negotiate to even make it a title fight because the dude was not. He was like the lowest ranked person you could possibly have to be considered for a title fight.
Yeah,
the New York State Athletic Commission wasn't going to sanction it.
That's right. That's right.
and Khabib could not put this cat away. We found he's got like no power. I don't know what kind of bears this cat was wrestling in Russia, but I think those bears were taking a dive.
Well, I mean, he certainly wasn't knocking him out. I mean, I don't know how he was finishing them.
I don't know. I think the bears took a dive. They're like, hey, look, let my son win and I will feed you more fish.
Yeah, sure.
Like, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give that bear another fucking picnic basket. And it was good.
Picnic basket.
That's spontaneous. See, UFC fighter, I can help you.
That was good, man. That was really good. The Yogi Bear call was clever. So I don't know, man. What would be interesting is I don't think they're going to do it in Russia. I think they'll do it in Vegas.
Oh yeah, they need the bets. They need the betting.
Yeah,
and they need the people to show up.
Yeah, well, and then it sets them up for a potential rematch or whatever down the line. And then the thing is if they did do it in Russia, where do you do it in Russia? It's not exactly a small country.
I don't know. Wherever Khabib is from, it's not like it's from one of the bigger parts. It's not St. Petersburg. It's not Moscow. He was like from the mountains or something like that.
Oh yeah, he's from one of the stands.
Yeah,
he is. I don't know, man. I don't know. But until that happens or is happening and close to happening, I'll talk about it, but I don't know what to talk about other than like the sport and its mechanics.
Dude, I used to go to like MMA Mania and MMA News to see what's going on. Now I'm like,
because there ain't no news. I mean, the biggest news over the last few weeks was Ariel Helwani going to ESPN.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, because who the fuck cares? That's why. I mean, I like the guy. I think he's a good journalist personally. And I like that he stirs things up a little bit, tries to embrace controversy to entertain people and create narrative.
Sure.
I like that he gets under Dana White's skin, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of people, though, not showing up, the end of this month, we're missing a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, we wanted to talk about this real quick. I don't know how many more minutes you have. Wow, yeah. This guy just out of the blue says, screw it. Because, I don't remember hearing or reading anything about, this dude is talking about it or this is coming up.
There's been a lot. They've been thinking this was going to happen for a while.
Oh, see, I missed it all then because to me it just came out of the blue.
Yeah, so they've been thinking this was going to happen for a while. They just didn't know because he never gave any hints.
Right.
evidently he even took on a couple of interns still, and now all of a sudden he's like, "Nah, I'm out."
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. It's not like it was he scheduled it and said, "Hey, just so you guys know, within the time frame, I'm done." Yes, exactly.
And for I don't know. I don't believe that's all the controversies, none of the controversies, conspiracy theories that are out there on this particular case. But I think in some ways, Justice Kennedy wanted to be able to have a conservative majority. A lot of his many of his latest places where he voted were on the conservative side. And I think that's kind of what so doing it now while the Republicans have a majority in both the House and the Senate. And I might be wrong on this one, so someone can fact check me here, but I believe it was when the last time there was a Democrat majority, they voted to make it, in terms of the rules of the House and the Senate, they made it to where it just needed to be a simple majority to to make it through as a Supreme Court justice. I think before it had to be 60-40 in the Senate.
I think you're right. It was something like that.
I think it was the Democrats, and if someone can fact check, but they definitely changed the rule. But I think it was when it was a Democrat Senate, and that was a big mistake. And they did that because they were worried about President Obama's nominee so I'm probably
Sotomayor, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that's when they changed it to get her through, because they didn't think they would. The first, I don't know which way is the most politically correct. I don't know if it's considered Latina, Hispanic, but her nationality is not, white Anglo-Saxon in any way, shape, or form.
Right,
so
right.
So forgive me if I said it wrong out there, because I know there is a difference between Hispanic and Latino. I just don't know what it is. So forgive me if I did it wrong out there. People, you can hate me on Twitter for it. That's fine.
Point out where Dan's wrong. Create some buzz for us. Because everything else, you're being entertained.
I freely admit that I don't know what the difference is. But whatever. That's when they changed. I thought that's when they changed the rule.
I think you're right, man. Because I remember that being a big to-do. Not only her recommendation and an appointment, but the whole proceedings themselves.
Yeah. See, I liked President Obama's nomination of Gorsuch. I think you can't say that the guy is not up there legally. I mean, he's got a PhD in law, not just a JD. I mean, he is scholarly. He also, I think, went to Oxford. I mean, the guy knows law. But President Obama's nominee, the guy from DC, I can't remember his name right now. I thought that cat was pretty good too. I want there to be a balance on the Supreme Court, because I believe that our norms change quite frequently in this country, and I think there should. But I'm also much more for term limits on not just Supreme Court, Congress, and the Senate.
Sure.
And all those people out there trying to bring President Trump on something. I think we talked about it maybe last show, but we've talked about it before. You know what's not changed since the Clinton administration? Congress.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to affect change? Get rid of the people that are currently in Congress. Force a president, the current one as well, any future president, to actually have to be a leader and work the politics.
Yeah, well, certainly, on a more daily basis, Congress is what impacts us. So, the Supreme Court, for instance, first of all, I would rather it err towards a conservative side more than a liberal side. Personally, I think that's healthier for the legal system. But first of all, how many cases do they see in a year? It's not very many. And the cases that they're deciding on, sure, can have a major impact, like Roe versus Wade. But that's also a minority of the minority of cases they see, right? I'm not saying it's irrelevant like the UFC at this point, it's certainly relevant, but being invested in who gets selected, I think investing that energy into your local and federal representatives in the actual legislating behavior is way more important and vital.
Yeah, here that's actually a really good point, and I think this is for those that may not be as interested. The Supreme Court only needs to get involved when Congress passes laws that simply just don't make sense.
That's right.
So if you're investing in your local, state, and federal representation, and you get people that actually care about the people, you won't have as many things going to the Supreme Court. Things that go to the Supreme Court are because something is really wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a fairly lengthy escalation process to go through courts and courts of appeals and circuits all the way up to the Supreme Court. I mean, that's an effort.
Yeah. So, hire people that want to actually take care of their constituents. This is the whole thing about one of the many reasons why I did not like Hillary Clinton. New York allows carpetbaggers. So she was able to go become a senator from New York. She was never from New York. How can she and then she never went back to New York, so to speak. So how could she ever represent you? Why would you allow that? Why? I mean, if we have term limits and people have to go back to the state or the municipality that they were representing and face those that they had to screw over, bet you that stuff doesn't last very long.
Right.
Stop. I think we talked about this last time too. Why do we need a full-time Congress?
Yo, pardon me, man. Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, ideally, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't need more coffee. I'm fired up over this.
Well, I mean, the only reason you do is because somehow it's become its own cottage industry. So, right, and that's not a very healthy incentive, because the incentive is to continue having that cottage industry, right? Not ending itself, which it should. I mean, right, it should work so well and in such a limited scope that its function is periodic.
Dude, they don't even need to be in DC. They can be back where they're at. We can do voting electronically. We got video conferencing capabilities.
Blockchain.
Yeah. All these things don't even be there. They can have their office. They can still do all the different things they need to do. Just get rid of the Capitol building itself. That take up a lot of real estate. And
that's right.
Doesn't need it. There's so many things that we can do differently today and still move our nation forward.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how much we would save in taxes by not having just the simple electricity and HVAC overhead of running those buildings.
Dude, no, it's not just that. The Capitol Police are charged with protecting
that's right
and representatives. You think you no longer need all of that because Secret Service protects the federally elected, but if you're a senator, it's Capitol Police.
That's right.
In the same way. So much money would be saved.
Wow, that's actually a really good platform to run on, man.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
I have not yet ascended to become the supreme chancellor of the universe. But
that's right, man.
It's my destiny. I'm not worried.
I'm okay, man. I'm just going to run my sovereign territory. I brought that up at dinner last night, by the way.
How did that go?
Not well. Not well.
Oh, because they like the fact that the North is separate from the South.
Yeah, which is ironic and funny to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. Look, all big things have small beginnings. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So my looks like my fact check has someone's already fact checked me. Yeah, it was McConnell even asked the Democrats, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure?" And so they did. So it looks like it was correct. It was back then.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens, man. I don't know.
I'm just going to keep laughing at it because I just go, hey, you want to really affect change? Start paying more attention to your local folks, and hey, stop voting for this people that were there, or better yet, people that aren't voting, Figure out a way to get them to vote. We've got like 300 some million adults in this country, and they didn't all show up to vote.
Yeah, a very, very small minority voted. That's probably the biggest problem, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we covered all of our topics for today.
We did, man. We actually got them all this time, and actually a little extra in the beginning. So,
well, no, because I wanted to. I had already tweeted we were going to talk about you not being able to handle your alcohol.
Oh, I handled it fine, man. I'm just tired. Oh, I have no problems handling it. I'm just getting old, man. Just getting old. I mean, probably I'm more tired from being up until 1 a.m. than anything else. The older I get, man, I just become more and more of an early morning person.
Dude, I go to bed late most days, except this. Oh, dude, me from Friday and Saturday with the changing of events. I mean, like all day yesterday, I was just on the phone. Mm-hmm. People either not liking it, liking it, wanting to know if I'm sticking around. You know, what are my plans for them? I'm like, I got plenty of them, but you'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't yet know who all of my enemies are at this particular moment.
Well, that's a good opportunity just to sit back and observe. They'll reveal themselves.
I mean, the good part is at least I actually I have the Army behind me in this case, or the Marines, because all of security is mine.
Yeah.
Now it's just the rest of them. I'll just tell Ian take over.
Yeah, sure.
However, he can either be in his full battle armor or he can go back to his fatigues. I don't really care which one.
Yeah, maybe he'll do half and half.
Oh.
All right, man. I think that's episode 71.
In the bag.
You want to do another midweek one this week, Thursday?
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
All right, man. I'll put it on the schedule.
Awesome. All right.
All right, everybody. That's episode 71. We covered UFC irrelevancy, Leibniz's birthday, 1st of July, more government, open science. Man.
You having a hangover?
I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired.
I'll even bring back for UFC people how to do a proper woo.
There you go. Woo!
Carolina, you're in Ric Flair country.
That's right, man. I know. There's so much here. What a glorious state. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. Peace. Hey.